All right, astrology update. I'm going to talk about what the fuck is going on in the world right now. So, I'm a little late for the new moon in Libra, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the new moon in Libra that we had, just kind of the energy that we're moving through right now, a little bit about Libra season and Libra energy in general. And then we have the full moon in Aries, which is coming up next on October 13th. But we have a lot of different things happening right now, different aspects that are happening. Like we're gonna have Mercury and Venus oppose Uranus, which is kind of a big deal. Bound to bring, something, whether it's something small or a little bit bigger in your life that can just shake up the stuck energy is what Uranus does. So we have that happening. We have Pluto and Saturn that have recently both gone direct after being retrograde for a few months. We also have Mercury that is preparing to go retrograde at the end of October. So Mercury is going to be in Scorpio for a long time. I'm going to break down what all this means. It's a lot of astrology words. So, and then I just wanted to say, to kind of start off with, like, to emphasize the time that we're in right now. So this whole year is kind of a buildup of what's happening at the beginning of January of 2020 when we have Pluto and Saturn coming together, which is an aspect that doesn't happen very often. It happens about every 35-ish years. So for a lot of us, we've not experienced this in our lifetime before. And kind of all throughout history, when Saturn and Pluto, these two, the most malefic planets, the most transformative planets, when they come together in the sky, it's a big deal. It's a big deal collectively, globally, the stuff that's happening, and then also, individually within our own personal lives, experiencing, shifts and changes. So yeah, it's a big time. It's a wild time to be alive. Okay. I can't with the shirt. It's too fucking hot in Hawaii. Clothes cannot happen. So, okay. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the energy that we've been moving through. So it's been fucking crazy, right? It's been crazy for me. I feel like there's been a lot of shadow work going on especially with Pluto being retrograde and now recently moving direct, and Saturn, both of those planets being retrograde. We've been doing a lot of deep internal work around our shadow self and just like our hidden fears or insecurities or ways that we self-destruct or self-sabotage, those things coming up to the surface, becoming a little bit more aware of them, and probably how it can show up in relationships, since we are in Libra season right now, and that is kind of what Libra energy represents, right? It's the only sign in the zodiac that is not living. It's like the inanimate object. It's not an animal or a person. It's the scales. So Libra represents balance. It's the middle of the zodiac. It represents relationships. It represents how we show up in relationship, and lately that has been the theme, with the new moon in Libra and with it just being Libra season. A lot is coming up around relationships, around like what our values are, what we want in relationship, the things that are non-negotiables, like getting throughout Virgo season. I feel that we've gotten really clear on kind of, what we want that to look like, what we want our lives to look like, the things that are important to us, kind of cutting out the clutter, cutting out the excess, which is what Virgo represents. And now with it being Libra season, it's like, okay, how does that fit with other people? Like, how do I balance my needs and the things that I need to do to take care of myself with what other people want and what their needs are, and how can we kind of make this work? So I feel like there's been a lot of growth, shall we say, a lot of challenges in relationships, in relating with other people, really becoming aware of the ways that we're self-sacrificing. That's the low road of the Libra energy. It's like, just kind of putting their needs to the side and just getting consumed by the other person. So that could be showing up in your life right now. Maybe it's kind of a rebalancing, you know, and Libra is the sign of balance, but it doesn't mean that they are necessarily balanced people. They're striving for balance. I'm a Libra, so it's a constant trying to find a balance. And I feel like the balance that we've been doing has been so shaken up and tested over the past few weeks, and with this Libra new moon that we had, it's like a reorienting of where the balance is, of like where the common ground is. And yeah, it could feel a little bit chaotic or a little bit like, yeah, you're just out of balance, because we're seeing the ways that we've maybe been giving too much of ourselves, or not taking enough time for ourselves, where we've been just sacrificing too much, and then in turn losing a little bit of who we are. You know, that can show up with the Libra energy, like, you know, saying yes when they'd like to say no, just kind of pushing their needs to the side and taking care of, you know, what the other people want, or not wanting to do things that offset the balance, not wanting to say no, not wanting to speak up, because then it can, you know, offset the balance, and they don't want to do that. So, so yeah, a lot of things coming up in relationships, I think, for a lot of people that I've been doing readings for myself, for, yeah, just people that I'm in contact with. Yeah, it's kind of a reorienting of how we're going to show up now, how people are going to show up in relationship now that we've kind of gotten more clear on the direction that we're going, on what our values are and what we want our life to look like. And so seeing how the relationships can shift, or and if it can't shift, then allowing those to kind of go to the side. But okay. So right now, I'll talk about some of the aspects that are happening right now. So we currently have Mars moving into the sign of Libra. So Mars is at the very last degree of Virgo right now, and it's going to be moving into the sign of Libra. So when something's like transitioning there in the in-between space, it can feel a lot more intense. It can feel like there's more pressure, like you know that something's shifting. It's just right at the last degree, so waiting for it to kind of, you know, make that shift into Libra. So out of the sign of Virgo, and as Mars moves into Libra, where it'll be for throughout October, it's going to be about, you know, Mars, the planet of action, and how we move forward with it being in the sign of Libra. Relationships, partnership, we're trying to really, you know, see in which ways we can move forward that are, you know, bringing the other people along with us, that are keeping the balance to a certain degree. You know, where can you give and take? It's like, yeah, trying to find the middle ground. And with Mercury now that's moved into Scorpio, Mercury, the planet of communication and how our mind works, with it being in the sign of Scorpio, and it's going to be there for about 2 months. Mercury generally stays in one sign for about 2 weeks, so it usually moves pretty quickly, but Mercury is going to be going retrograde on Halloween at the end of October, so it's going to be in this Scorpio energy for a while. So with Mercury being in Scorpio for so long, how our mind works and how we communicate, being in that sign of Scorpio that I fucking love, that is just very clear and decisive, and has you know, an opinion, a point of view about everything. So if we've been feeling like it's been hard to make decisions, or we can kind of see all sides of everything, which way should I go, that's very much Libra energy. Like, they can understand where everybody's coming from, and okay, I can see this point of view and this point of view, and yeah, that makes sense, this makes sense. And now with Mercury moving into Scorpio, it's like kind of cutting through. It's like the sword slashing through illusion. Like, sure, that all makes sense and is nice, but what do I really need? Like, what are my deepest desires? That's you know, another phrase for the Scorpio energy is I desire. So it's like, what are your deepest desires on that primal, just gut deep internal level? What is it that you need? And I feel that Mercury moving into Scorpio will really help us just be a bit more decisive, not be afraid of maybe, you know, slashing through the things that have been not working and that we've been needing to kind of put an end to, and then really embracing, like, yeah, the direction that it is that we're going in. Okay, so then we're gonna have Mercury and Venus, and then the sun. We're gonna have a whole bunch of planets like slowly oppose Uranus. So that's gonna happen over the next few days. I believe Mercury opposes Uranus on October 8th, and then Venus opposes Uranus on a few days after that. I want to say it's the 13th. Anyways, I'll share another video when it comes time for the full moon in Aries. But with Mercury and Venus slowly each opposing Uranus, I think that that'll help us to really, shake up the stuck energy in regards to how we communicate first, with Uranus opposing Mercury. Shaking up stuck energy. Maybe it's thought patterns, maybe it's destructive thoughts, maybe it's things that we've been ruminating on and that we haven't been able to, kind of shake loose from or to make clear. So with that aspect happening, I think that that'll bring some insights. It might bring, Uranus is the planet of disruptions and chaos, so it could look or feel a little bit chaotic, but ultimately it is here to help us to grow and to evolve and to help us shake free from stuff that we may not usually choose to break free from if it wasn't for an outside force coming in and doing that work for us or helping us move along. So yeah, that's going to happen with Mercury, and then Venus is also going to oppose Uranus. So maybe shaking things up in regards to our relationships, how we show up in a relationship. Maybe if it's been hard to get on the same page or to see things eye to eye, Uranus making that aspect can bring some sudden insights or downloads or flashes of information. That's kind of the energy that Uranus represents. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. You can't really predict what Uranus is going to do. Can't really predict so much what any of the planets are going to do. They just hold a general energy, and we can, understand how to work with that energy or understand different ways that it could show up, but we don't know exactly what is going to happen. So, all right, those are some of the aspects that are happening. And then I just wanted to share a little bit about, the time that we're in. So with Saturn and Pluto, this is the conjunction that we're building up to. So this is happening in January of 2020. We're having an eclipse, and we're having this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which again only happens about every 35-ish years. So this energy that we're going to be feeling collectively, like within society, within the systems, the government structures here, and in the area of the world that you're living in, and also individually, to just break down these two planets. We have, so throughout this whole year, we've had this dance between these planets going on. So Saturn, the planet of our karma, of our life lesson, of the work that we're here to do. It's the timekeeper. It's the fatherly, stern energy in the zodiac. So it represents kind of the boundaries that we can work within. The structures that have been put in place that we're supposed to follow, the rules, the traditions. So we have that planet, Saturn, and then we have Pluto, the planet of death, of transformation, of rebirth, of, it's transformation and transmutation. So Pluto is like the alchemical process of changing structure. So it's a constant death and rebirth for these Plutonian people that have strong Pluto or in Scorpio energy. It's like a constant, death and rebirth, peeling back the layers and allowing kind of the old way of being to die, to be burnt to the ground, and something new kind of growing in its place. So those two planets coming together, mixing and having this conversation. And then we also have the South Node that's been involved in this dance throughout this year, and then the South Node's going to be slowly leaving the picture. But throughout this year, we've been working through a lot of karmic weight stuff from the past. The South Node represents the past, the energy that we can default back into, the stuff that we've done maybe in past lives. So we've been doing a lot of better understanding, you know, our patterns and our cycles, and maybe stuff that we've carried forward from past lives or earlier in this lifetime, just the energy that we can default back into that isn't serving us anymore. So Saturn is the planet of the boundaries of these rules, of these structures, of maybe the ways that we've been showing up in the past. And then Pluto is wanting us to transform. It's wanting us to continuously evolve and to grow and to have different experiences, no matter how the ego feels about it. The soul just wants to go through these experiences to grow. So maybe some challenging experiences that have brought stuff up from the past, or brought up, like, you know, past feelings or stories you would tell yourself, or thought patterns, or just your situations coming back up, so that we can, you know, that we can clear it out. Ultimately, we can see it hopefully from a new perspective, because we've learned and we've grown, so we are not repeating these same cycles, or we're, you know, we're in a cycle but we're handling it differently, we're seeing it more objectively. So yeah, so globally going through a lot of transformation, and individually as well. It's a wild time to be alive right now. There's a lot happening. Yeah, I definitely feel like there's been some dark nights of the soul throughout the past few weeks, with Pluto and Saturn being retrograde, inviting us to just go inward and to do some deep internal work. So it's gonna affect you differently depending on how your chart is aspecting the planets in the sky right now. And you know, if you have a planet that, for example, if you have something in like 18 to 22 degrees of Capricorn, you've probably been going through it, been feeling a lot this year. Also, if in any of the cardinal signs, so in Libra, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, the conjunction at the beginning of January of 2020 is going to be strongly aspecting your chart. Also, if you're, you know, 28, 29, 30, you're going through your Saturn return, and if you're in your Saturn return at that time, if you're around that age, Saturn is in the sign of Capricorn for you. So those people may be going through it a little bit more. I mean, pretty much everybody, when you go through your Saturn return, you're going through something. It's an intense time of transformation. So yeah, so if you're feeling the aspects more strongly, that might be something to look into, to either get your chart read. I do astrology readings, I do past life regressions and tarot readings, so if you're interested in any of that, you can check out my site at cosmicguidance.online and see the services that I offer, how much time you want to do, and you can book through there. But yeah, if you're feeling the aspects more strongly, it might be helpful to better understand your astrology chart, or for you to just pull up a free chart, you know, on your own online, and to see if you're feeling something really intensely, to see what's happening in your chart and how it's lining up with the planets in the sky. So if you have, you know, any of your personal planets that are just making a strong aspect to one of these new moons or these full moons, or the eclipses that happened, or again that conjunction at the beginning of next year, you're going to be feeling the energy a lot more intensely. So I mean, we're all going to be going through it, but it's going to show up in our lives differently depending on the aspects that our chart is making with what's happening in the sky right now. So, okay, well, I hope that this was helpful. I just wanted to share a little bit about the energy that we're moving through, and I will share a video for the Aries Full Moon. That will be very exciting, the Aries Full Moon, and then we have the Scorpio New Moon after that, which is going to be really wild. Yeah, Scorpio season in general, but yeah, Uranus is going to be making some aspects to that new moon. So lots of change really is what's happening right now. I think it could feel uncomfortable, and just with life in general, but the more that we hold on to things and we cling to things and we want things to be a certain way, it's gonna feel more uncomfortable when life comes along and shakes our shit up. So I feel like there's a lot of, yeah, again, like configuring where our middle ground is, like finding a new balance after we've gotten, you know, we've gone through so much this year, so much with those eclipses around July, and then, you know, Virgo season was fucking wild, figuring out, just getting clear on what our values are, on what we need in our life, really cutting out the excess in understanding the ways that we've been giving too much, or we've been self-sacrificing, and now it's like kind of coming back into ourselves and finding a new balance after all of this stuff that's changed and is going to continue to change throughout this year, and with that huge aspect that's happening at the beginning of next year. But right now, yeah, just taking time to kind of come back into yourself and to figure out where your new balance is after this, yeah, the deep internal healing process that we've been going through. Okay, I hope that this was helpful. Again, if you want to book a reading with me, you can do so through my site at cosmicguidance.online. And yeah, till next time. All right, take care.